Let's get to Alabama and LSU. Uh, Operator put me on through. I'm going to send you down to Baton Rouge. And Brian Kelly coming in 13-0 night games since he joined the program. And that was one of the most dominating, bludgeoning performances I've seen in that game. Two, here we sit, and Alabama's probably going to be in the college football playoff.
No, when they lost to Tennessee, it seemed over. They just didn't have a pulse. And they are back, and Kalen DeBoer has. I mean, he's coming close to cursing now. He, I mean, he's not. He doesn't look like the same coach we saw 4 weeks ago. And what do you say about Brian Kelly that hasn't already been cursed and uttered by tens of thousands of LSU fans? I mean, he went out and made a change at the defensive coordinator position. Looks like he might want to make another change. That was one of the poorest defensive schemes I've ever seen. Offensively, Nussmeier just simply, went in the tank. What we saw from LSU, Matt, should not have been a surprise. We've seen it every week. They screwed around the USC game. They absolutely shouldn't have beaten South Carolina. They beat Ole Miss in overtime on the final play to tie it in overtime and in regulation. And this is a team that's been living on the edge. And I'm foolish and many of us are foolish to think that they could correct it. They didn't. And Brian Kelly now is going to have to sell winning 10 games again, as if anyone will be listening.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about because I think Brian Kelly's one of the best coaches in the country. And yeah, he's going to win 10 games at LSU for his first 3 years. I believe with LSU, when you look at the NFL and you see Brian Thomas Jr., when you look at the NFL and you see Jaden Daniels and what he's doing, when you look at the NFL and see Malik Neighbors and everybody that they're doing, I just think that it was hard for LSU to replace that kind of production and be a legitimate contender. Like, look, I know Nussmeier when he's good, he's good. I know Kyron Lacy's when he's good, he's good. But there was so much lost, Paul. I think we put it on them, and they weren't ready for it.
No,
But they're still going to win 10 games in the SEC, like on an SEC schedule.
no, well, because he is an elite coach, and therefore we expect him to do. And I'm not saying he should have prepared us better, because we all saw this. We all saw the flaws, but we all also bought in. I'm using the collective phrase. I frankly thought Alabama would win, because Alabama usually always wins. But,
Yeah.
but but I think we just got hung up on false narratives. Brian Kelly's never lost a day a night. Well, he has lost in the daytime there. Uh, he he lost to Tennessee by 32 points a couple of years ago during at a noon start. But it's like the thing you saw all day yesterday, and you probably even uttered it because it was on the screen. This is the first time uh, Georgia has lost to someone other than Alabama. I mean,
Yep.
I mean, it's like those other three losses didn't count.
Yeah. It was a wild day. I just want to throw out some Jaylen Milroe superlatives before we move on. 185 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Second player with 4 rushing touchdowns in Alabama history, joining Sean Alexander. 8 career rushing touchdowns against LSU, the most by a single SEC player against a single opponent since Tim Tebow. Finished with 185 rushing yards, the most by an Alabama quarterback since Stedman Shealy, of course. Who doesn't remember him? So it was just that kind of a dominated performance. And I'll say this, coming out of the bye week for Alabama, what did we sit on here and say for that 3 week stretch when they just weren't that good? The offense was stuck. Kalen DeBoer is like, you know what? I got the best guy in the field and Jaylen Milroe. To hell with all this airing it out. If I need to throw it, I'll throw it, but I'm just going to run the big fella and we're going to win doing it that way.
Yeah, and by the way, LSU knew that too going in.
Yeah.
Um,
Lastly, we've been on here for a minute. Miami goes down. Look, they've to Georgia Tech again. They've been playing so dangerously throughout the year. It was going to happen, but in this new era, Paul, they're still fine.
they are. What they're not is, in my mind, are a serious contender anymore. I mean, they looked really good, Cam Ward, the whole thing, but this is who they are. Someone was going to get them. It's no big deal because they're still probably going to get to the playoffs. Where it hurts the most, I think, is for the ACC. They
Yep.
probably lost a berth yesterday. They'll get the champion in, but I don't think they're getting anybody else.
That's exactly right. With them losing, like the Big Ten situated to get 4 teams in, as much as people cry and moan, SEC 2 loss teams are getting in. It's just when other teams and smaller conference, not smaller conferences, sorry, less potent conferences this year keep losing, you're going to open up the field of some of these other bigger conferences with the 2 loss teams. They got a bye week. They've got Wake Forest. They've got Syracuse. To your point, and with Pitt going down, Clemson's still around. But look, here's what we know. What's today? November 10th. How many more weeks do we have of the regular season? 3, 4.
Three.
Chaos is going to ensue because it did so yesterday. Paul, great stuff.